school violations. The personnel are Richard Bishop, Don McCoy, and the high school being Palestine Westwood High School. And then at the same time, we're going to be considering all these at the same time. Palestine Westwood High School Appeal of District 9-3A Division 1 Executive Committee decision regarding 29B3C, forfeiture of contests. Mr. Beasley, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, DEC 9-3A Division 1 met on October 21st, 2024 to consider the alleged violations of Section 1208 L, videotaping and filming by Palestine Westwood High School personnel. After finding that violations had occurred, the DEC voted unanimously that Palestine Westwood High School forfeit all district football contests, including past and future games. Palestine Westwood High School is appealing the ruling of the DEC.
All right, thank you. Okay. I want to welcome all of you who have joined this hearing. And the first thing we're going to do is check for audio. So we would ask you to unmute at this time, and we're going to go around and ask you to state your name and your what your role is here. And then we will, once we're done there, we're going to get you sworn in. Once you're sworn in, then we'll talk about our process a little bit. All right, Mr. Craig.
Joe Craig, Superintendent, Fairfield ISD.
Thank you, sir. Got Donald McCoy.
Yes, sir. Westwood Independent School District IT Department.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Bowman.
Yes, sir. Brian Bowman, District Chair for 9-3A Division 1 and Superintendent of Diboll ISD.
All righty. Mr. Stanford.
Yes, sir. Wade Stanford, Superintendent, Westwood ISD.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Bishop.
Yes, sir. Richard Bishop, the Athletic Director, Head Football Coach at Westwood ISD.
Thanks, sir. And then we have John, is it Bechtel?
Bechtel, yes, sir. John Bechtel, Athletic Director, Head Football Coach, Fairfield.
Okay, thank you. You have some folks with you back there? Are they
Yes,
going to be
sir,
part of this?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, guys.
Tyler Terry, high school football coach and witness.
Sean Welch, junior high football coach and witness.
Aaron Allen, junior high football coach and witness.
Thank you. We have a Mr. Roden.
Yes, Andrew Roden, managing attorney for Massey Legal, representing Coach Bishop.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, we're going to ask all of you to raise your right hand, and Caroline's going to get you sworn in. The appropriate response will be, I do.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Our process today is going to, we're going to first of all talk to, in this order, Mr. McCoy, and then we're going to talk to Coach Bishop. Then we're going to talk to the superintendent of schools, Mr. Stanford. And once we're finished there, we're going to talk to other members that are here, those who were part of it as witnesses, and then the DEC chair. I would talk to our attorney today and just let him know that our goal here is to hear from those who are directly involved. And obviously, if you need to confer with your client, that's great. And we'll give you an opportunity at a point late in the hearing to make your statements. Okay. Thank you. Okay. As I said, we're going to start with Mr. McCoy.
Yes, sir.
Mr. McCoy, you are an IT person at Westwood High School. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. and you made the trip over with Coach Bishop to the ball game that's in question here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think you ended up leaving with one of the other coaches. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I walked out with Coach Tunstall
Okay.
and his wife.
Yeah. Now, when you were initially asked about the situation and what was going on, your initial question, your response, excuse me, was that you videoed a few plays to send to a girlfriend in Virginia, and that you had deleted all that a little bit later, but there might be some of it left. Are those correct statements?
Yes, sir. Deleted in the sense that it was just a deletion, but after conferring with Mr. Roden's office, we found a way to recover that. The iPhone has a feature to recover deleted videos.
Good, good. And then, so you initially stated that the only reason that you did that was to send to your girlfriend.
Yes, sir. It was a Friday night. We had a professional development day that day, and we were, conversing as we do. She's asking what I'm doing, and because of the distance, I try to share my life with her in any way that I possibly can. And so, that included me being there Friday and
Okay.
everything that was going on.
You stated that initially that you recorded a few plays, and then I think later on it kind of for much of the first quarter or all the first quarter and part of the second, or part of the first and all of the second. And I noticed you did some of the halftime activities as well. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I had started recording in the first quarter, but that doesn't I want to make it clear that I didn't record everything. It's just at that point in time is whenever, I got the idea to, I'm going to show her what this is about and stuff.
Well, you then, I think I can quote you to say that you said it was just about the entire half that you recorded.
That I had started, yes, sir. But there were points at which, I just had my phone out recording, and I didn't get everything, but I was trying to get as much as I can.
Mhm. You recorded the plays, what was going on there, and did you ever at any time record coaches on the sideline to take a look at what they were doing?
No, sir.
Not
Not
specifically.
intentionally. No, sir, not specifically.
Mhm. Okay. And then was there any discussion from anyone about you doing this?
No, sir.
Okay, so this was totally your idea.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Um, the video, and by the way, we did end up getting to see a video from you folks. It came through your attorney, or Mr. Bishop's attorney. We got to see that. Have you looked at that video?
Not that presentation, but I'm probably familiar with the videos that I've submitted to his office.
Okay. Were they complete?
Yes, sir.
That was everything.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. McCoy at this time? We reserve the right to get back to you a little bit later, sir. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you
you.
for your answers.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Coach Bishop.
Yes, sir.
All righty. First of all, y'all changed your game night, did you not? You had originally been scheduled for a Friday and ended up that week playing on a Thursday?
We did play on a Thursday that week during the officials draft, which was in March or April of the previous spring. Due to the official shortage, myself and Crockett decided to move our game up to Thursday to get a better selection of officials. Yes, sir. So that was selected in the spring following.
Okay.
I mean, prior to, sorry.
Did you notify the other members of the district about that?
I don't know that there was a formal, but there was a JV game here. Well, let me back up. There was guys, Crockett, Dieball, Huntington are all, use the same officials chapter. So they were at that, they were at that officials draft. So they were aware. And then,
But is there not a requirement for you to make sure everyone knows for a change like that, just for fairness sakes?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And you didn't make a formal, hey, need everybody in the district to know that we changed our game from Friday to Thursday. And we obviously know why that we do that, because there's an advantage if you're open on Friday, you get to go scout. But if you let them know that on Thursday you're playing your game, they have the opportunity to do the same, don't they?
Right, that's correct. Coach Bachtel was at our facility for a JVB game, maybe 2 weeks prior, a week prior, and we had a discussion on our field that I would be over there Friday because we're playing on Thursday the week prior.
But again,
the day prior.
No real formal, hey, based on UIL rules, we're supposed to make an announcement about that. Correct?
Correct.
We always did that when I was
Yes,
I was coaching, or when my teams were playing. Okay.
Chair, I just want to make clarification that on this Zoom call that their district schedule is not theirs. It's the district executive committee schedule that approves that. And once they approve it, if there's any change, they need to let the district executive committee chair know that. And then it's a fair, either they accept the change or they deny the change.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Beasley. Appreciate it. So we know now, right, Coach?
yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. Now, we know that you were sitting by Mr. McCoy. We saw that in the pictures. And I gotta tell you, you've claimed that you weren't even aware that he was videoing. Is that a correct statement?
I did not. I was not aware that he had his camera app open video, and that's correct.
Okay. That's really hard for me to believe. I don't know you, and I trust that you're going to be upfront and honest. But if I'm sitting by somebody for a full half and they got their camera out and are videoing, hard for me to not notice that.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been in this profession 17 years, and I've tried to, uphold the standards and ethics of this profession, and respect obviously what y'all do, respect what the THSCA does, and athletics have been a part of my entire life. I've been the head coach here 7 years, never had any issues regarding any type of nature of these things. We took over a program that was extremely down, and I think we've done it the right way through character development, mentorship, servant leadership, all those things. I've served on the THSCA set committees, and at no point, do I feel like I've ever jeopardized our profession in any way.
Okay. All right. Have you seen the video?
The video that Fairfield submitted from the press box?
No, sir. The one that Mr. McCoy filmed that night?
Yeah, so like I said, I'll kind of take you through that. Mr. McCoy I was at a volleyball game at 4:30, and Mr. McCoy got a text message to come fix a mic issue at our stadium or at our gym, and I was speaking with our principal, Mr. Nettles. He I let him know that I was going over to Fairfield to watch the game, and Mr. McCoy said he didn't have anything to do. He would ride with me, so I told him to come on, and we got in the vehicle and went. At that time, I wasn't aware of anything that happened there until I got a call from our superintendent. And I told him that I hadn't, I think the statement that he was told was that your coach is up there videoing. I think that was the statement that was made to Mr. Stanford. And I relayed to him that I had not videoed anything or even had my phone open of anything of that nature. But that I would check into it, that Don was with me. So at that point, I got with Don and I told him, if you have anything, please, get rid of it. We don't need any type of allegations or anything like that. It's not kosher. He was just there as a spectator. He's not a part of my staff. He's not under my direct supervision. I told the DEC as well, I go to dinner with my wife or she has her phone out. I have no idea what she's doing on it. Like, I'm there to do a job. I'm locked into the game. I had no recollection of anything that was happening, but I did tell him or instruct him after halftime when I was made aware that he needed to delete the video and that I had not seen it and didn't anticipate seeing it at any time. It wasn't until yesterday that when my legal counsel, told me that he'd got the video recovered from Don, and he took me through the presentation that showed obviously that that y'all have that there is absolutely no signals on that video whatsoever.
Okay. What other questions do you have for Coach? Committee members? All right, Coach, we'll be back to you.
Yes.
Thank you for your answers. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We're going to go now to Superintendent Mr. Stanford.
Yes, sir.
You got word on that Friday that there was a problem. You got word from one of your peers. Is that correct?
From Chris Skinner, the superintendent at Teague. It was went back and looked at 804. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you called Coach?
Immediately. Yes, sir.
And informed him he needed to do what?
So I indicated that Mr. Skinner had called me and said that he had heard that our coach was filming the sideline and getting signals. And so I called him and told him that I had heard that and to ensure that there was nothing of any nature like that was happening. And he told me that he didn't have his phone out in filming and that he would check with Don because Don was with him. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I emphasized again, you ensure that nothing of that nature is occurring.
Right. All right. And you later on, I think the consequences is going to be a little bit of training for these folks, make sure that that didn't happen with any of your coaches again. Is that correct?
I think that would extend further than a little, but yes, sir, some training, and it would extend further than our coaches because obviously we have a problem that reaches outside the athletic department, and so as a superintendent, I have failed to ensure that we have the proper training with UIL rules and Constitution. Yes, sir.
All right. And so there was an admittance from Mr. McCoy that he had been recording, correct?
Yes, sir. And he admitted that immediately upon me investigating this also, sir.
Without getting permission from the teams because
yes, sir.
There's that caveat there.
Yes, sir.
Did you end up with a copy of the video?
Of his video?
Uh-huh.
I've been able to look at what was submitted in the portal a little bit before this meeting, but not of anything that he recorded. I did not get a copy of that. No, sir.
Okay. So do you have any, you have no way of knowing if what we saw through the portal and all is complete?
I would have to say that it's probably not complete, sir, to be honest with you, because it doesn't look like there's enough clips to consume nearly a full half.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to be very honest with you, sir.
But you didn't see anything else? Any
No,
other?
sir, I did not. Did not see anything else. No, sir.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Superintendent, Mr. Stanford? All right. Again, we
I
always.
believe there's one down at, I believe there is, Mr. Colwell has one.
I'm sorry, Dr. Colwell.
Yeah, I have a quick question. What, Mr. Stanford, leads you to believe that there was a lot more video taken than the clips that were submitted to us?
So it was the testimony at the DEC when Mr. McCoy said that he started filming during the first quarter and that he filmed in the first quarter and ended the second quarter. And so I would have to say that there's probably more than that, sir. It's probably not a popular opinion with some of the people in my district, but that's the truth.
Thank you.
You bet.
Very good. Yes, Dr. Harrison.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I have a question for Wade, and it's along the same lines as the previous questions. You know, this case is happening quickly, so trying to keep everything organized in my head. You were at the DEC meeting. Am I wrong in remembering that Mr. McCoy testified at one point to videoing some funny movements or some wording like that of a coach on the sideline because he thought it was funny?
Yes, sir, he did.
Did you see that clip in what was submitted by Coach Bishop's representation?
I didn't, but I didn't get to watch all of it, sir. I was trying to look at it before the meeting, and I apologize. That's error on my side.
No worry. I didn't see that, so I was curious. Thank you, Mr.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you for that point, nor did I see that. Thank you. Okay, we'll be back to you potentially.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You bet. We're going to go now to talk to some of the witnesses and then DEC. So, Mr. Bechtel.
Yes, sir.
You said your role is the principal, is that right?
I'm the athletic director, head football coach.
I'm sorry. And that's where, so for clarity's sake.
At Fairfield, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. One of the two teams involved in the game.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the three gentlemen back here are those who saw what was going on. You know, I think the thing that we heard in the written testimony, or we saw in the written testimony, was that, and saw some pictures, was that there was some recording going on, and there was some scrolling in and out, those kinds of things. I would ask each of the three, starting from our left here, closest to you, to describe very specifically what you saw, and then move to the next one. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Coach Terry.
I was the first one that noticed what was happening during the game. I noticed it during the second quarter. And when I noticed it, it originally was just him filming the play. But as I paid attention closer, there was a time where the play had ended. He had stopped the recording. The next play was about to begin. He picked it up, and it looked as though his thumbs were zooming into our coaches. And I could see on the camera the picture getting, I guess, more closer to the action. You could tell he was zooming in. As we got done signaling, it seemed as though he had zoomed back out and moved his camera over to watch the play.
Okay. Next.
Do I say my name?
Yeah.
Sean Welch. I was the furthest left in the press box, so the most behind Mr. McCoy. I saw his hands on the phone. I couldn't tell from my angle exactly what his hands were doing, but I'm the one that got the videos of him videoing our guys. And that was the angle I had. I couldn't tell exactly what he's doing on the phone, but I'm the one that got the videos. And anything from my perspective is in those videos.
Thank you. Coach?
Aaron Allen. I was on the far right of the press box, so I could see his phone the most clearly. I didn't notice zooming in or out, but what I did notice was when you go to the camera app, there's a red circle where you record, and at the top there's a red bar that shows you're recording. So I could tell that he was on the camera app and not Snapchat. And from when Coach Terry noticed in the second quarter until the end of the second quarter, we were busy coaching, but whenever we had time to, look down there, I noticed that he was still filming until the end of the second quarter, until halftime.
Thank you. Anything else you three want to add? All right. Let's go to our DEC chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bowman, have you heard anything today that's new? Have you heard anything that, is anything new today so far?
I think as of this morning, there seems to be maybe quite a bit new in the fact that all the evidence was supposed to be turned in Tuesday at 5 o'clock. I've received it this morning about 7:30. So I've been trying to dig through that and actually, not out of any disrespect to anyone, but the information submitted is more damaging. So yeah, I think quite a bit of information is new.
Okay, and describe for this group, first of all, the major factors that you felt like that made the decision what it was, but also describe the new information that you think is damaging, please.
Yes, sir. I think if you go to the DEC meeting, it was a tough one. Just the job y'all do every day is hard because we knew this could impact some kids. In addition to that, Mr. Stanford is a good friend of ours. He's a mentor to me. And so those two things combined made it difficult. As the DEC meeting started, it started with the testimony of, we took a few Snapchats to send to the girl in Virginia, and that's it. Okay. Fairfield coaches testified that they watched him with the camera app open with the red button recording for the majority of the second quarter. So that changed. We go back to Westwood's testimony, and they changed their testimony to, yes, I did record half of the first quarter, all of the second quarter, and I was recording constant. If you look at the testimony, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it was very similar to this. I recorded from the snap of the ball until the whistle blew. Well, we go back and look, there were 71 plays. Now we've had to gather this morning. There were 71 plays in the first half. Okay. And he admitted to recording half of the first quarter, all the second quarter. They just testified that they submitted all the videos he had, and it was 20. So what was it? Was it 2 or 3 Snapchats? Was it half the first quarter, all the second quarter? Was it 20 plays? And the testimony from Fairfield is it was not on Snapchat. They watched him record the entire thing. In addition to that, the part about not filming any signals, it is in the minutes, in written, and we have audio recordings that we know for sure he recorded one signal, okay, because he admitted to that. They just said again today that they didn't record any coach doing signals. So again, it's what is it? So those are some of the things that were new to us today. That again, I think it hurts their case. In the video they submitted to y'all, if you think of the timeline, it was stated that Mr. Stanford called them immediately, which he did. We have the timeline of that. It was at the beginning of halftime. Okay, they were at the concession stand. Videos were deleted to then. In the video that their legal counsel submitted, it said that they were filming the Teague band. Okay, which would have been the first band going at halftime, which would have added up with the timeline they submitted. That is incorrect. The video that's in there, that is the Fairfield band that was at the end of halftime. So again, just so many things that don't seem to be adding up. In the end, we felt like that someone needed to be held accountable for this. I know Coach Bishop has stated he didn't know video was going on. He sat next to him for an entire half. The camera was out the entire time, and I believe the DEC believed that it was gross negligence on his part as a leader. If you're going to understand the UIL rules and you have a person, an employee with you that run in the technology department that is videoing for a quarter and a half for sure, which was omitted from the entire place. And for him not to see that, and in our opinion, number one, it was a violation of a major UIL rule. Number two, it was kind of a slap in the face to every high school coach in Texas and every player in Texas. And so we don't necessarily hold Mr. McCoy responsible for this. It was Coach Bishop's negligence, in our opinion. So that's a quick overview, and it kind of tells you what has changed from the DEC till today. And again, it was different information for about the third time.
Okay. Very concise. Thank you. Committee members, for those that we've talked to thus far, do you have questions for any of them? Yes, Dr. Teal.
Mr. Chair, I guess let's circle back to Mr. McCoy and ask the question, where is the video that was referenced in the DEC hearing regarding the coach that was making some funny looking signals on the sideline?
So I just want to clarify that, while I did have my phone out for those first 2 quarters, I wasn't capturing everything. I did make an attempt to catch him doing the pelvic thrusts and the bear claw movements, but I never captured it after the first time I noticed it. And it just didn't really matter to me to, make that important that I had to capture that at some point. But it was just something that I'd noticed and it was funny. And like I wasn't recording, like I had started recording in the first quarter. That's when I had the idea of catching big plays, but I wasn't, recording everything.
Okay, follow-up question in that the committee needs to know what your role is for the district. We understand your IT staff. My question of you is, do you have any role or duty that's associated with the filming of games? Anything from a huddle camera, getting footage gathered for the district, any sort of role that it pertains to athletics from your IT spot?
So, Fridays, my only involvement with the football program and Coach Bishop is that on Fridays, home and away games, I travel in my own personal vehicle. I don't even ride the team bus on away games. And I don't, show up at the same time the coaches do on home games, but I show up, I set up the cameras. Coach Noble operates the end zone camera, and student Hayden Adams operates the sideline camera. And I just kind of supervise the functionality of that, but I'm not responsible for capturing any film.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Teal. Good questions. Others? Yes, Mr. Wade, and then Dr. Colwell.
Yeah, I have a question, but I want to kind of follow up on Dr. Teal. Okay, you don't capture any film. Do you do anything with the film when it's completed prior to?
No, sir.
You do not?
No, sir. I believe that's Coach Hollins's job, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm really not sure.
Okay. Superintendent mentioned that he called, I think, around halftime. Is that correct, Mr. Coach Bishop? Just nod your head, yes, no? What time of the game, Coach, Mr. McCoy, should I say, did you leave the game? At what point in the game?
I'm not really sure. Coach Bishop had left for some reason. I'm not sure the exact time, but once I noticed Coach Tunstall and his wife leaving is whenever I took, the cue to leave, because, I wasn't made aware of any us leaving. I thought, their job was done, so I left with them.
So when did you find out that the superintendent had called? At what point in the game did you know the superintendent called the head coach?
When we went to the concession stand and Coach Bishop made me aware of that.
Okay. How much
Sir.
time after that did you leave? So exactly when you left, how much time did you remain at the game after you were told that?
I believe we stayed for the third quarter and maybe left at the beginning of the fourth, somewhere around there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Colwell?
I think both my questions have been answered, but I just it had to do with technical support from Mr. McCoy. Do you have any do you provide any work with Huddle if that's the program they use? Do you provide any technical support there?
No, sir. The last time I messed with that Huddle camera was when we installed it, maybe 2021. And we installed that with my director, Edwin Allen Schusler. And since then, other than, some network connectivity issues, that's about it, but nothing on the front end, all on the back end.
So outside of some network updates and things like that, that's only the technical support you supply to that.
Yes, sir. We've had a couple of network issues in the press box with that on the switch, and I've resolved that before, our season started. And those were like the only two times I've messed with the Huddle camera.
And
The installation and sorry.
Yeah, and does your girlfriend in Virginia have a real significant interest in Texas high school football?
I like to think she has a significant interest in me, sir. And we're just courting, and the best way that we can court is just share as much of our lives as we can with each other, and that's what we do.
Okay.
Dr. Barnes, did you have your name hand up, please?
Yes, yes, I did. So on the videos, was there audio recordings to those as well?
I believe there's audio to the videos, yes, ma'am.
And so were there conversations going on between you and Coach Bishop on those two?
No, ma'am, it's all just atmospheric, what's going on, crowd sounds and such, but no conversations. I'm not having a conversation with anyone in those videos.
Okay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah, Coach, I apologize. I kind of assumed, I thought you may be a first-year teacher, but you've been there since 21. How many times have you been to a scout or football game? I won't use the word scout, but attend a football game of an upcoming opponent in your few years there?
I've only ever attended Westwood games up until the game I attended with Coach Bishop with Fairfield and Teague in participating.
All right.
I have one more.
Okay, Dr. Barnes and then Dr. Harrison.
And so when you're attending home games, is it pretty common for you to send videos at home games also over to your girlfriend? Do you do that at home quite a bit too?
I do take pictures and stuff, but usually I'm pretty busy whenever whenever we're involved in the game itself. And I don't really have much time to do much personal activity because I'm having to supervise, high school student and making sure all that, stays functioning and whatnot, because we've had some technical issues with the communication between our sideline cam and the end zone cam via Sky Coach. And it's a new system this year. So I've got a vested interest in making sure I do my job right and not letting people down, really.
All right. We had Dr. Harrison and then Dr. Colwell.
Yeah, Mr. McCoy, I apologize. I don't keep up quite as fast as our SEC members, so I'm trying to catch up and make sure I'm following all this correctly. And when we started off, I believe, is this correct, that you testified to the DEC that you took a few snaps for your girlfriend, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then that
Yes.
testimony changed to most of the first quarter or half the first quarter and all of the second quarter, correct?
I was at the ready to record during that time, but I did not capture everything. And, It was a mix between text and snaps.
Gotcha. And so when did you stop recording?
Whenever it was made apparent to me that what I was doing could have been a problem, and I was, had I known it would have been a problem and it is a problem, I would have considered that. But I just felt like I was just doing what I normally do in my interactions with Deja.
Okay, and so you stopped recording when Mr. Stanford, excuse me, called Coach Bishop. When did you delete the videos?
Right then and there at the concession stand, as soon as it was made apparent.
So that's the part that the DEC chair mentioned earlier that I'm having a hard time reconciling. You stopped recording at the end of the second quarter. Early in halftime, you got the call, no more recording, deleted everything. But there was a recording clearly showed on the video submitted by council of the home team band. So that, we're high school football folks. We know the home team band marches second. So that's at the end of halftime. So help us understand, if you stopped recording before they went on and deleted all the recordings before they went on, how is that video a part of what was submitted?
So I had, I was deleted the videos, and then whenever I returned back to the stands, I'm a fan of band. Teague had already played. There's this particular Pit Bull song that Fairfield was playing, and it's one of my favorite songs. And I heard them playing it earlier in the game, and I figured that they were going to play it later on, and that's something additional I wanted to share with her, because it was like a Pit Bull and Sia song or something. But yeah, it's just one of my favorite songs, and I was trying to it's another aspect of me trying to share that with her.
Okay, so am I understanding correctly, then you didn't actually stop recording when the call from the superintendent came in, you stopped recording sometime later?
Well, I mean, without knowing the full scope of the rules, I felt like, yeah, I could stop recording football, but I'm at least going to get the band performance, because it's just something I enjoy, marching band and music as well.
Okay, so that marching band performance that's on the video submitted by council, it was also recovered from your deleted files?
Yes, sir.
So you deleted it separately?
Yes, sir. I mean, yeah, I deleted it all. Anything from that night.
Well, but you told us you deleted everything else before that, then you recorded that, then you deleted that. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
Okay.
I can show you now, like, my iCloud is dang near full, and it's something I've been maintaining for a little bit now.
All right, you got several questions. Dr. Colwell's first, then Dr. Teal, and then Mr. Wade.
Dr. Teal, do you have a question for Mr. McCoy? Because I had a question for Coach Bishop. So if you've got one for Mr. McCoy, without changing veins, I'd let you go first.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Colwell. Mr. McCoy, earlier our SEC chair, Mr. Motherall, asked you if we had all of the videos. Your testimony was yes. And then later in this meeting, the DEC chair, Mr. Bowman out of Diboll, testified that there were 71 plays in that first half. And we only had video recordings of 20, according to his testimony. So clearly, we don't have all of the videos. So share with the committee your process. Did you retrieve those videos through Apple in a process there? Did someone else do that? Talk to us how that all went down.
So, the discrepancy, I think, between like my videos recorded and the amount of plays ran is assuming that I was, recording the whole time. I was just picking and choosing, it wasn't something that I was, trying to do every single play because, I didn't have any really need to. And in regards to the recovery of the videos, it's something that I did myself from the Photos app on the iPhone.
Okay, so you retrieved videos and sent those to whom?
Attorney Roden.
Okay, and then Coach Bishop's counsel then sent them to our committee or the portal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the videos that you recovered through Apple did not go to your school district. It went to Mr. Bishop's counsel.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Before Dr. Caldwell goes, and then Mr. Excuse me, Mr. Wade, did you have something for Mr. McCoy again? You're muted.
I apologize. I believe it was Dr. Teal that asked this question before earlier when you were asked what were was your involvement with the football team, and you stated you set up the cameras. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You never mentioned until I heard a few minutes ago that you also supervised the videoing.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Want to make sure. Thank you.
And Dr. Behrens, is your question to Mr. McCoy as well?
Yes, it is.
All right, go ahead, please.
So you knew that Mr. Stanford had asked you to put your phone up and not video anymore, correct?
I didn't speak with Mr. Stanford. That was relayed to me through Coach Bishop.
And what did Coach Bishop tell you?
He was, asked what I was doing. I told him, and that's when he expressed that it might be a problem and it'd probably be a good idea if I got rid of it because he, it's not something that he was interested in, and it's really, it wasn't, what we do. And he made me, made it pretty clear to me that, what I was doing could be misconstrued and it is wrong. And, I felt really bad and scared about that at the time. I get nervous, I'm a naturally anxious guy. And
But then you took your phone out again to record the band. Was Coach Bishop by you when you did that as well?
I don't recall. I mean, he might have been at the phone at that time. I had went and sat by the turnstiles.
Okay.
All right. Dr. Caldwell, you had a question for somebody else.
Yeah, either Coach Bishop or Coach Bechtel or the DEC chair. What are the guidelines for exchanging videos between upcoming opponents?
Coach Bishop, won't you answer that?
Yes, sir. So we trade two on the Wednesday prior to the previous. So we trade two on Wednesday the week before, and then we trade the Friday night's game on Saturday. So we get a minimum of 3 trade tapes.
And the most recent game is included in that. So you were going to get the video of the Fairfield T game, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions at this point from the committee? Okay. Mr. Zapata, you had a comment or a question?
I've got 2 questions. One for the chair. Yeah, I just heard Mr. McCoy say that the difference in the amount of video that was submitted by counsel, that when it was asked as what was the difference between the 71 plays and possibly the 20 plays, was that he was indiscriminately filming as he went. Is that testimony consistent with testimony that he provided at the DEC meeting? That he was indiscriminately filming and picking and choosing plays?
Yeah, thank you for asking that because I had that on my notes. So his quote was, after it went from the 2 to 3 Snapchats to later, it was, I recorded from the snap to the whistle. Whenever the whistle blew the play dead, I was capturing every play. I recorded basically the entire half of both teams. So that's what it was. So if you add that in addition to what the Fairfield coaches said, is that the red light was on the camera app and it was constant, I think was the term that they used. And so I think if you do that for a quarter and a half, it's a lot more than 20 plays whenever they ran 71 total.
Okay. And then, Mr. McCoy, I know this has been alluded to, but I don't know if it's been asked directly of you. Why did you state at the DEC meeting under oath that you only took a few snaps when you were asked about what you videoed, and then later have to change your answer to that same question in the same hearing?
Well, sir, this is all really new to me, and whenever I was made aware that we was going to have this meeting, I don't know the process. Everyone was saying it's unprecedented. There's no structure for how these things go, and I get nervous, and I get there, and I feel like I'm on trial for something, and I wasn't prepared for something like that. You know.
No, so but just to be sure, I'm assuming that you guys were sworn in just like you were today, and you were asked what you filmed, and your initial response was just a few snaps, correct?
I mean, it was like there was a few snaps in addition to like other messages that I was, exchanging with Deja at the time.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions right now? Any other comments coming from folks? All right, we're going to go right now to Mr. Roden.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Mr. Roden, we need it very succinct, whatever you're going to talk to us about, and we look forward to it.
Yeah, so first off, I'd like to first start with the point that the extension of time was actually discussed with Dr. Harrison, Jamie Harrison, yesterday. We actually came onto this matter less than 24 hours ago in taking on this case. So that's why the material was submitted last night and this morning to this committee. When it comes to the DEC hearing, I actually want to just identify a few issues with the hearing. Upon our investigation, we've actually identified that the chain of custody aspect that should have been conducted was not properly done here, meaning the DEC should have had a neutral third party actually recording the minutes. And it's our understanding from our investigation at this point.
Please, let me interrupt you. We're not here to talk about the process of the district executive committee meeting. We're here to talk about facts and what has gone on and what has not gone on. So anything that you can shed on Coach Bishop's behalf, we want to hear it. But we don't want to hear about a process that you don't think was accurate.
Yeah, so apologies, Chairman. It's a lot different from our NCAA hearings that we have normally. Now, when it comes to Coach Bishop's process, he sat literally 6 to 7 rows from the opposing team in his apparel. And the one thing that this committee should take note of, if you're planning on recording a game, why would you sit in front the press box of the opposing team that you play the following week? The other thing is, as you saw from the video that was submitted earlier, the opposing teams has every single play signal in every video that they have, which we have submitted and highlighted. So if they wanted their play signals, it would have easily been obtained through the videos that were submitted by Fairfield to this matter. And now in reference to the aspect of the recording of the band, when it comes to that part, I mean, there is no UIL rule that states that an individual cannot record a band, to my knowledge. And then the second factor that we have to look at here is there is an aspect of gross negligence being brought up as far as my client cheating. It's not cheating, as I said before. Gross negligence goes in the aspect that my client had a duty in the state of Texas to actually monitor Mr. McCoy, which he did not under state law have a duty or authority to do so. So extending that type of authority or privilege over him would be very far reaching in this scenario here. Now, when it comes to the testimony of the coaches as well, that also is something that has to be brought to questions, because we are now relying on the aspect of a video that was taken 30 to 40 feet away from where coach was sitting from a press box. One, when you look at the video itself, you can see that the client is, Mr. McCoy is zooming in and out on the phone. But also, if you can go back and actually watch the game film, you'll actually see the clips where that was actually present. There's nothing in Mr. McCoy's thing that actually took a picture or video of that. Now, when it comes to this allegation that there are video clips missing, one key thing that this committee has to realize is when you look at video clips, there's a thing called metadata. The metadata actually has timestamps of when video was taking place. It also identifies file numbers. So the video that was submitted to us, pretty much for the most part, had nearly every single file except like a handful that were missing. But like I said, even in that aspect, for somebody to think that you can use a cell phone to record an entire game with the storage data that's on the average cell phone at 4K or 1080p, it's also something that's not realistic. Now, if you're not familiar with Snapchat, Snapchat is actually an app where you can record something and send it to somebody and does not keep it on your phone. So that's the other part that is not being brought up here, is the clarity on the actual social media part to this. We actually just did receive a letter from Deja, the client's girlfriend. She just literally sent this now, a letter of her testimony of what she was experiencing going back and forth to him, which we will submit to the committee if they will still allow us to submit that at this time. And then lastly, when it comes to the testimony of the coaches, I also find the credibility on that kind of up in the air. One being that one of the members of the staff is a former member that was actually released from Coach Bishop's staff. The individual was a former coach at Coach Bishop's school that's now at Fairfield. The other part that we have to look at is the individual in the audio is clearly sounds like he's under some type of influence. And the reason I state that as well, if you watch the end of the video that they submitted, you actually see a can of tobacco that's in the video, which violates Texas Education Code.
Let's to reach out there and say that somebody was impaired is a little bit of a stretch. So let's go elsewhere.
Yep. Well, as I said before, when it comes to the video, the chain of custody was completely followed. When our firm was retained yesterday, we, of course, instructed Mr. McCoy how to send the video to us. He sent the video to us. There were no files edited. There were no files changed. The video that you see is the video that we received, and there were no adjustments to it. So I just want to also make that clear too. These types of videos and presentations that's done is not something that we do on a random basis. It's something we almost do every day in our office. So for the inference that there was some type of changing of the video was actually quite appalling, especially since, as you know, as attorneys in the state of Texas, we have the highest duty to follow the court system than any other individual in the state.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions for the attorney? All right. Yes, Dr. Harrison.
Just one question to clarify, and I might have missed it, but I'm not sure anybody suggested that any of the videos were altered. I did hear, including myself, have some questions about whether it was all the videos. I think what I just heard you say is your analysis of the metadata, which includes file numbers, showed that almost all of the videos were shared with you. Does that mean that not all of the videos were shared with you?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Harrison. That could also deal with the fact that the videos that were made for Snapchat would have thrown off the counts of the video itself. So it coincides with Mr. McCoy's statement that he was Snapchatting during the process. So there's a few variables that could exist to that. But as I said before, when it comes to the play signals, you can watch the video we submitted. Every single play from that first quarter, second quarter was pretty much almost, we submitted 20 of the 71 plays that were submitted. You can see in all 20 plays, the coaching staff is clearly showing exactly what they're doing. And I can tell you, my background is I'm a former college football coach, former high school head coach. So athletics is something I can tell you that when it comes to these types of signals, we're looking at, analytics, we're looking at down and distance, we're looking at plays, but so somebody to say that you're going to have that much time between a play as far as having, as some of you have been coaches on here, 3 to 4 seconds to all of a sudden adjust your team, it's very hard to do. Even when you go back and look at the Michigan thing, where that's been brought up in some conversations in the media, It's nowhere close to that type of situation because, they actually had people on the field, pretending and hiding to be different individuals on sidelines of opposing teams. That's not this case right now. We're talking about a gentleman that is not a member of the coach's staff. He's never been part of any practices. We're talking about a gentleman that's part of an IT team. Coaches literally just allowed him opportunity. Mr. McCoy grew up in the area. So you can think as a person that grew up in the area watching this team, this is like a highlight now to say, hey, you was the coach of a team that you grew up honoring, and coach has done a phenomenal job. So I don't see him as being malicious, trying to hurt the game of football or mess up the integrity of the game.
Dr. Caldwell.
This is just a clarification for the coach or whomever. I hear counsel say that that Coach Bishop was in his Westwood coaching. Could you tell me what you had on that night? I'm just curious.
I had on a practice shirt, I guess, a dry fit practice shirt that had our logo on it. And I think I had on maybe some Westwood shorts, if I'm not mistaken, black shorts as well. And I think my white Nike tennis shoes. Whatever. I went from athletic periods at the end of the day into the gym to watch the volleyball game, and directly from the volleyball game to Fairfield without a change of clothes. So it had Westwood gear. It had Westwood logos on it for sure.
Okay. Did you have any notepads, legal pad? Did you have anything that you take notes with or anything like that?
No, sir. I take mental notes, and then if I see something that I really want to write down, I do it on my notes on my phone.
Thank you.
All right. Excuse me. All right. Coach Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Final words from you.
Just to reiterate kind of what's already been said, I've never been involved in any kind of UIL reprimand or any issues. I've been doing this 17 years. I greatly respect everything that the UIL does, everything that the THSCA does. This profession is the greatest profession in the world. We get to impact kids on a daily basis. I was in my coaching gear right in front of the other team on the press box. The signals are already on the film that on the trade film. No reason to try to steal something that's already, that's going to be given to me. Donald is not a member of my staff. I told him to delete the video immediately when I was aware. Did not at any point see those videos until they were recovered by legal counsel. The videos that were released or that were given did not obtain any kind of competitive advantage at all for myself, this staff, or this team. We've done things the right way since the day I walked into Westwood, I feel like, and the guys that at Fairfield I've shared advice, from our track timing system to, I considered those guys friends, all the way through our speed training system and how we run off season has been shared with Coach Bechtel from us. There's nothing as an intent for me to go up to this game and record and to steal signals. It's absolutely not the case at all.
Okay. Anybody else need to speak?
Yeah.
Dr. Caldwell.
Coach, surely you realize how bad that looked. You're sitting there at your next opponent's game in your gear with another employee who's videoed. And, we can get into some other discussions, and I'm sure we will, but that you understand why we're here, how that would look.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else? Dr. Harrison, Dr. Braddock, Mr. Cepeda?
Yes, sir. In light of what Dr. Colwell just mentioned, the perception of this is not good. It doesn't look good for Westwood. And the changing of stories from the DEC testimony and what was told to the superintendent first, what he relayed to us, and then he's been faithful to make sure he protects his district, but he's also having to represent his employees. And y'all have given him different information. And, you know, we hear that the video's been deleted. Now we found it. Now we're going to submit it. No, we stopped recording. Then no, we got some more that's been recorded. It's hard to know. So the perception of all this is bad. If you take in light what the attorney said, and I really appreciate him recovering the video. Thank you, sir, for doing that. I think that's been most helpful. But at the end of the day, when you think about what happened with Spygate, what happened with Inflategate, what happened with the Astros and the so-called sign stealing, and what happened with Michigan, you got to know as a coach, you can't be involved in anything that even looks like some kind of a violation. And so it doesn't matter about the coach's signals. That's one thing. You cannot video any other school without their permission. Even though you're trading a tape, you can't take another video and do that. It's hard for me to believe that you rode all the way over here with a guy to the game that had never been to another game other than your games. And then y'all didn't talk anything about this. You testified to that at the DEC. And then you show up and then you don't know, you're sitting by him, but you don't know he's videoing. It's just hard. It's just really difficult to believe that. I'm not saying you're lying, and you may have had your mind wrapped around somewhere else, but you're going to have to do a better job of explaining why didn't you know what he was doing? He's not your employee. He is an employee of the district. He rode with you for the first time ever, and he's sitting with you, and you're not paying attention at all to what he's doing. So that's why we're here today. I mean, it's just a bad look. The perception is reality for all those other schools that are out there that you're competing against. And it's hard for the DEC, who I thought did what they had to do because they have to protect the process that we have in place. The rules are important, all of them, at all times. And you put your superintendent in a terrible, terrible situation here. He's got a role to defend the district, and he's got to defend his employees. And who does he believe? Because the stories have continued to change. So, Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Braddock. Mr. Cepeda?
Yeah, I just have one thing that I just thought about. Mr. Stanford was obviously, when he was called about this allegation, was so concerned about it that he immediately, while he was off site, called you, Coach Bishop, and said, "Hey, what's going on? Whatever's happening needs to stop. Put an end to it." So at that point, you're aware that somebody saw you in your Westwood gear, and that this filming has taken place. Did you try to reach out? I mean, I've coached for a long time. Did you try?
Yes.
I know how the ethics between coaches, you've talked about the profession. You now know that somebody has seen you doing something, and they probably thought something was untoward happening because they called your superintendent to tell him. Did you my first thought would have been to call my two peers and make sure that they understood the story. Did you try to reach out to these two coaches and talk to them and explain the context of what was going on immediately after the ball game?
I did not call immediately after their ball game. I did try to reach out to Coach Bechtel. I can't remember what night that was. He didn't answer. He called me back the next morning to try to, like I said, relay that, I respect him. He's a friend in the profession. I would never do that. And at that point, you can ask him. He said, "I believe you." That was his response.
But the only reason I asked that question is kind of the comment that Mr. Colwell Dr. Colwell had mentioned about, do you realize the seriousness of this? And then what Dr. Braddock said about the current context of matters like this and the fact that your superintendent had called you. I just would have thought that you would have immediately, to protect your program, yourself, your integrity, would have just picked up the phone and called them. So that's the reason I would ask that question.
Yes, sir. I didn't want to interrupt his big win, and I wanted him to have his moment, and that's what I told him on the phone. Maybe I should have called him waited and had a conversation with him and knocking on his locker room door. But
Dr. Harrison?
I trust the committee members are going to, thoroughly deliberate and discuss all of the information that was submitted prior to the hearing and all of the testimony today. It is a hazy collection of facts to say the least. There was mention of credibility of some of the witnesses earlier, and I think that's very much a question. I'm still not sure what happened. Mr. McCoy, with all due respect, I still don't know what you said because you said so many different things. I don't know what's happened. It's really difficult to ascertain. And given that, I think everybody, maybe for different reasons, but I think at the end, everybody recognizes that the videos submitted by council were not complete. There were missing files. Again, there may be some disagreement as to why, but it's not all the plays, and it raises a lot of questions for me, and I know that the committee has a difficult job in front of it, and we're here to answer any questions committee members have, and trust you guys will do a great job of deliberating.
Mr. Chair, one point, if you don't mind. I know it's going long. I just want to say that the witnesses that sent the video to the DEC are credible, but we don't need their testimony because we've got the admittance from the person who recorded and from the coach that they did record. So you can negate the testimony from Fairfield and what they saw. It helped us know that there was a problem, and it helped someone call the superintendent and say there's a problem. So I don't want to disparage those guys in any form or fashion from Fairfield, but we don't need their testimony.
Understand. Thanks, sir. Committee members, final comments? Oh, Mr. Bishop, did you have something?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to also state that, there were some comments made at the DEC that were very personal and egregious towards me, and some implications made towards me that I had people out scouting all these other games, and who knows, what all of this involved. And, that was a very, pretty stiff dagger, I guess I would say. There is no evidence that any of those previous games or anything like that of this nature ever happened, and for them to bring that in front of us and forfeit games that we've already played and all these things, I just think there's a lot to maybe some sort of I don't know, some sort of hidden agenda there. I'm not sure, but y'all can read the minutes on what I'm speaking about, and I'm sure y'all have that. My brother was brought up and all of these type things. It was just it was weird to me, and the precedent that kids are gonna miss their season and all stuff, and I can't fathom it.
Well, and I think the thing that you've already heard from Dr. Brydup and some of our committee members as well is you put yourself in a bad situation, Coach. So when you do that by your inaction or your inattentiveness or whatever it may be, you place yourself in a position where people are going to wonder what's going on. You may feel like somebody ganged up on you or something along those lines, but these folks are trying to protect their kids. So we recognize that. I think our chair had something to say, Mr. Bowman.
Yes, sir. I wanted to address that. He is correct. We did ask that in the DEC because of things that were asked of us. Were they rumors? We didn't know. And we said that. We said, hey, we've heard this. Is that true? It was a simple question. And I think with the allegations that we were dealing with, was a very appropriate question. So it was nothing personal. It was nothing in addition to that. I think I'm the one that said, we don't know if this has been done before. And he said he took that personal. It's not personal. We were simply doing a job to protect not just the kids in District 9 3A, but really all the teams in District 3A Division I across the state. That's what we were taking into consideration with those questions. As soon as he answered them, we moved on. We didn't have a discussion about him. He said no. We said, okay, we had just heard that, wanted to ask.
Right, but that was that doubt was put into people's mind at that committee because that was brought up.
Questions had to be asked, Coach. Questions had to be asked.
So regardless, that said on that, and I didn't know if there were going to be any other discussions before you vote on the employees' punishment and the team's punishment, because I think, some
Do you
of
have
us
something
wanted.
to say as a district chair?
Well, I think as a chair, you all do this often, okay? And I respect that. What was difficult about this is we were dealing with adults that affect kids. We 100%, it was unanimous in all of our votes as a DEC. We believe that Coach Bishop, as the athletic director and head football coach, should be held responsible for this. I know the attorney said earlier about the gross negligence. I'm not an attorney, okay? I'm a superintendent. I don't know the legal stuff like you, but what I do know is it was unethical, okay? And we as a DEC agreed to that with Coach Bishop. We did put some punishment on Mr. McCoy, and I want to state, I know that he kind of took a beating today. And Mr. McCoy, we don't blame you at all. I'm going to be honest with you. I know that Coach Bishop has said he has no responsibilities, but you heard in the testimony, he has responsibilities with cameras and stuff on Friday night. That was stated, so that's changed. But Mr. McCoy, we do not blame him. He was part of it. Whenever it came to the team, that's the part I wanted to address. That was the most difficult thing that has caused some sleepless nights, because we're not just affecting football. You're affecting band, cheerleaders, drill team, the community. It affects a lot. As a committee, okay, I'm going to tell you the reasons why we did that to help y'all, good or bad.
Very quickly, please, because
Yes, sir.
We're running this pretty long. Go ahead.
So one is this has never been dealt with, so we knew it was a precedence. So we wanted to set something to where y'all wouldn't have to come back and mess with it a whole lot. If anyone was going to be the bad guys in the state, it was going to be us. So we set it high so you could adjust. Two, we looked at all the other kids in our district and 3A Division I across the state that this could affect based on seedings of playoffs, a first place team having to play a fourth place team and so forth. That's the reason we did what we did. Palestine Westwood kids are great. They got a great football team. We don't want an adult decision to have a dramatic impact on these kids. I wanted to get that out there, but we set a punishment that we wanted the SEC to look at, and y'all help make that decision because it is the first time.
Thank you, sir. All right. It's yes, Mr. Stanford.
Mr. Chair, I apologize, and I'm not trying to delay things. I just want to
no, you're good. We need to hear you.
A point of order. I realize we're looking at personnel right now. There are some things I'd like to comment on before we get to the forfeit piece. So I don't want to interrupt, but I just want to make sure I know the point of order of where we're going to be discussing.
We're going to talk about personnel first, and then we're going to go to the teams.
Okay.
You
All
want
right,
to make sure you get your opportunity.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
And it's time. Yes, Mr. McCoy. Very quickly.
I just want to say this has been the most stressful thing, and I honestly had no intention of being involved in any sort of cheating, and it's really been heck on me. It's been rough.
All right. Thanks, sir. It's time for us to deliberate some consequences. We have some recommendations that came from the district executive committee on the personnel side of it first. And those recommendations were for Mr. McCoy that he not be involved in any UIL activities for a year. I don't think that's going to affect him much if that's what we do, because he doesn't do much. He doesn't do much in terms of UIL, I'm sorry. Is that a correct statement, Mr. McCoy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so that's something to be considered. The other recommendation, and the actual recommendation that came from the committee, I think, was that for Coach Bishop, that he be removed from football for the remainder of this season, both regular and playoff games for the season. Is that an accurate statement, Mr. Chair? Okay, that's a yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So that's what we're looking at as recommendations coming from the district executive committee. Now, obviously, we have things that we are going to do that we have opportunities to do. For example, there's always a public reprimand that's a requirement. And then there's times of probation and then suspension. Those are the kind of the three areas that we look at. So let's look first at coach, because I think he's the most prominent figure in this, and we need to make sure that we get that taken care of. I would be interested in comments. I'll begin by I think maybe elaborating a little bit on the fact that coach has some great responsibility here. He may, whether he prompted Mr. McCoy to film something, I don't know. All I know is there was filming going on. It was illegal because you can't do that. So with that, him being the head football coach and the athletic director, responsibility lies at his feet. So there needs to be consequences going to coach. Comments coming from committee members. Dr. Colwell, Dr. Teal, Dr. Behrens, Mr. Wade, anything from anyone?
I'll go first then.
Please.
I think that that recommendation from the DEC regarding Coach Bishop is one that the state executive committee probably should accept. And I do think that there's so many moving pieces here that we're still dealing with today that make some of this difficult. But I think the DEC accepted the fact that this was something on the surface was a gross violation. You just can't do that. Now, we can go and talk about the intentions and the impact it could have on the team, but I think that recommendation is probably one that certainly is acceptable to me, and I defer to the rest of the committee.
We have thoughts from Dr. Colwell, and I will echo what he's just said. Dr. Teal, Dr. Behrens, Mr. Wade, anything that you need to say?
Yes, would you mind just restating what the committee said, just so I can make sure I heard it noted down correctly for the coach?
That Coach Bishop be removed from any football activities for the remainder of this school year, both regular and playoffs games. And obviously there will be a public reprimand, and we need to have a time of probation as well, which is standard. I would say probably 2 years worth of probation for him, but that would be. So we've got the recommendation coming. And Dr. Colwell, did you make that in the form of a motion?
Yes, but I make the motion that Coach Bishop be suspended from football activities for the remainder of this year, including regular season. And if postseason is part of it, the suspension is applicable to postseason as well.
All right. And obviously the reprimand, and you want to offer also some probation for him?
Probation. And this is where probation at least for all of next year.
Okay. So you're saying for a year, in other words?
Yeah, for a year.
For the 25, 26 school year.
25-26 school year.
Okay. So the remainder of this year and the 25-26 school year.
Right. And the probation does not, there's not a prohibition on him participating in football activities in 25-6. That's just probation.
Probation, just watching.
I'll second that.
All right, got a second from Dr. Teal. All in favor, please raise your right hand. That's unanimous. We go to Mr. McCoy. Mr. McCoy, we have a recommendation on him to not be involved in UIL activities, I think, for the remainder of the school year. Not much of a consequence for him, but I think it's probably a pretty appropriate one in this situation. And yes, Dr. Teal.
Just for clarification, Mr. Chair, are we referring to football games? It says all athletic contests for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, because if we didn't do it, but just for football, that wouldn't last. That wouldn't be much
Wouldn't
for
be
him.
very long. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted that clarified. Thank you.
And of course, he has to have a public reprimand, and I'm not sure there's a need to place him on a probation because of his role.
I agree. I don't think there's any probation there.
All right. So do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair,
right.
for a public reprimand and for Mr. McCoy to be suspended from all athletic contests for the remainder of this 24-25 school year.
All UIL activities for the remainder.
I apologize. I was reading the DEC's recommendation, but
Oh, was it? Was it athletics?
I'm content with that being worded either way.
Okay, I think UIL activities is what was
Intended.
Yes, sir.
All UIL activities for the remainder of the school year.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Or did we get a second?
Second.
Dr. Behrens, did you second that? Okay, and we're all in favor. Please raise your right hand. That's unanimous. Thank you. We go now to the high school, the team, basically. And Mr. Stanford, you had something you needed to say.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, sir. You would just bear with me for a second.
You betcha.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yeah, please.
What is the current record of the school right now? Football.
Current school, what's the football record right now?
7-0, sir, undefeated.
And 2-0 in district.
2-0 in district.
And the two schools were Fairfield, and I'm missing the other one. Who are they playing?
So the rules infraction occurred at the Fairfield T game. We have competed in against Crockett and Diboll, and both of those were victories. We have T Friday night, Fairfield, and then Huntington left.
Okay. Are you to a point of being able to say what you need to now?
I'm so sorry, and I apologize. Well, I'm not going to get emotional, but just bear with me. The district understands that there was a rules violation. From our moment at the DEC, we've said that, and so there's no argument from that standpoint. There's a vehicle which we have for consequences for adults, and y'all have done that today. And so I appreciate the work that you've done. It's hard work, but you've done that. In our district, we value student voice, and we're working tremendously hard to incorporate community voice. We also value standards, and those standards are high. We've had adults that have missed that standard, and ultimately, I've missed that standard as the leader of the district. But the ones that haven't are our kids. And that's not just our football team, but that's our band, our cheerleaders, our drill, our other support groups, our student body, and the other ones that have upheld the standard is our community. And they've worked hard at that. 21 years as a coach, 7 as an athletic director, head football coach. I know the value of athletics. I know the impact it has on a community and what it does to bring them together. And we've experienced that. And like I said, we value student voice, so they're not here today, so I'm standing in the gap for them, and I'm their advocate. I believe that Mr. Bowman and the DEC acted in good faith. I believe they tried to do what they felt like was right. Even if I don't agree with it, I believe they acted in good faith. And Brian and I are real good friends. But there is a vehicle to step back and to look at the consequences. For people that have done everything we've asked them to do. And that's our kids. And so what I'd ask you to do is to consider that, to consider what they've done, to consider the standard that they've reached and their striving, their dedication, their commitment every day to not only change an athletic program, but to start to change a community and bring the community together. And that's what our kids have done. I appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, sir. Well stated. Okay, we have a recommendation that came from the district executive committee, and that was, Mr. Chair, make sure I'm getting this right, forfeit all district football contests, both past and future.
Yes, sir, that was correct. That's correct.
But we have some discretion here, and I'm just going to be upfront with you about that. I think there needs to be a forfeiture, but I can't get all the way to all the district games in my mind, whether there are any. But we've got 2 games upcoming. Is that right? 2 upcoming games with Fairfield and Teague, the ones that
we have yes, sir. We have Teague Friday night, then Fairfield, and then Huntington. So we close out the season with Huntington.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna tell you that if we're gonna go the forfeiture route, for me, it needs to be Fairfield and Teague, period. That's where I am. If we're gonna go forfeitures on this. Just because they are the ones that were potentially affected based upon what happened the other night. Yes, Mr. Wade.
I'd like to ask the UIL on those 2 forfeitures. If we decide to do that, they still have to play. What would be those procedures? Would they play the game? Would they just be no games?
My recommendation for that would be that the 2 schools, say there's 3 schools involved, but 2 at a time, right? That those schools decide whether or not to play the game and how to play the game, and hopefully come to an agreement on how to do that. And if they were unable to do that, to call a DEC hearing to make, to break the tie. The tensions could definitely be a bit high. So I could understand there being some concern about those games. And I think that the school leaders in those communities are the best to make that decision, whether or not to play them, and if so, under what restrictions. That would be my opinion.
I would concur.
Good. Would it be improper or proper? Could I ask Mr. Stanford, would he like to see happen in that situation if that was the case?
So
since we're involving, other, organizations that, preparing, I don't know, have we had the marching contest yet? I'm not positive.
So we go to area Saturday and with an opportunity to advance to state. So Mr. Wade, I haven't put a lot of thought into that, to be honest.
Thank you.
But I would defer to what Mr. Harrison's saying, or Dr. Harrison, excuse me, Jamie, that I think the three superintendents need to get together and discuss it, sir. They have some input into that too.
I know that, yeah, thank you. And it's good points. There might be there would have to be strong considerations given to do it that way, to go ahead and play the games just because of the angst that's going to be existing in those circumstances. But as you guys, that would be a situation that you would have to determine on your own among the three of you. So 2 at a time, if that's the way it went. I need some discussion on whether we need to, number one, do we need to go ahead, Dr. Teal?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll jump in on the discussion. For my committee member seat, we've taken care of the adults that were directly responsible. If I felt like for my committee member seat that Mr. McCoy's intent was for the football team to use this video footage for their benefit, I would lean towards some forfeitures. If I felt like that was Coach Bishop's intent, and who knows what conversation was had on the road to the game, but assuming his past with as a head coach and his community responsibilities and his dedication to his kids and his program are pure at that time as well. I don't know that his team benefited from that video footage. That would, if they had, I'd lean more into forfeiture. But with that not being the case, I would not advocate for forfeitures of games for the team.
Very well spoken. Thank you, Dr. Teal.
I'd like to say too that I really appreciate Superintendent Stanford. I think that he really owned the situation, and I appreciate his comments. And I also think that, with the adults in the situation, that, we've come down pretty hard on them too. And I don't think it's the kids that need to, I don't think that they played a part in this.
Dr. Colwell.
Yeah, when we talk about the kids, that resonates with me, but it also resonates with me a little bit about Teague and Fairfield. If I'm not sure how they feel about it, and I know we'll let them. We're not asking them today, but if they don't play or they play a game that doesn't count, how's that going to impact? And I haven't looked at their standings or their record, how that impacts their preparation for possibly postseason play. And I don't know if we do forfeiture, I strongly probably think that playing those games is not going to be good for anybody. I think the pressure from the communities, I think the pressure on the young men, I just think that we could be asking for a different set of problems there. But again, if we're going to defer that to the DEC and the schools, my question is, this is of course a larger decision. I don't think it's one that Teague and Fairfield could make in a vacuum without the leadership of the DEC, but and how they see this should play out. But forfeiture has, if you're going to forfeit, you're not going to play. That's what a forfeit is.
Yeah.
If you want to call it a scrimmage, I don't know. The other thing is they play Teague when? Tomorrow? What kind of impact is that going to have on Teague? I don't, they may be glad they're not going to play him. I don't know. But and what's that going to have on Coach Bechtel in Fairfield in 2 weeks from now? So I'd like to hear some people's thoughts on that from the committee.
Good points.
I kind of agree with, what Dr. Teal said. I just don't know. You don't know. I would just hate for them to play and it doesn't have a meaning for sure. I think we're looking for greater things that could happen if we did that.
Yeah. I agree with Dr. Colwell on if it's going to be a forfeit, it needs to be a forfeit and no gain. Again, there's a lot of problems that go along with that. But, we seem to have some sentiment here that there doesn't need to be any forfeits. And there's some wisdom in that too, I'm sure. So I want to poll the committee members at this point. I know, Dr. Teal, what you said. I know where you are, Dr. Behrens. You mentioned that. Dr. Colwell, I think you said what, either way?
I am really not for multiple forfeitures.
Okay. All right. Mr. Wade?
I agree with no forfeitures.
Okay. I need to hear from staff members at this point.
This is the committee's decision to make. I think you guys have done a great job of discussing the possibilities. Staff can live with whatever decision the committee goes with.
Okay.
100%.
Dr. Braddock? You're muted. You're muted.
Mr. Chair, we always consider the kids first. All of us do, everyone here in this meeting. And I would say they have nothing to do with this. It seems that any of the information that was gleaned had not been used. And if it has, a coach that was involved with it is not going to be there. So there's no advantage gained, in my opinion. I appreciate what the district committee has done, but I think that without forfeiture, we're still in good standing.
Okay.
But, I still want to come back and say that when I said multiple forfeitures, I just don't think at this time to see that I am, singular forfeiture of the Teague game tomorrow night is still a possibility because, from a competitive advantage, if there was, a focus on, I didn't see anything that focused on Teague's sideline. Am I correct in saying that or not? It seemed like it's all focused on Fairfield.
Yeah, correct.
Is that correct?
Hard for me to say.
I guess what I see is there are 3 film that the schools are getting anyway, which is going to have the same video, I would assume, that could have been recorded. We'll have they'll have 3 full film to get anything they want to get off of it anyway. I guess that's why I say, you might as well not have the forfeiture. Is it a advantage? Yes, possibly, but there's more advantage to having those 3 full game videos, I would think, than the shots we saw. It's just my opinion.
All right. I think we've got some options here. If you look at our information, there it is. Sorry. Our job right here is to, because we've got an appeal from Westwood High School right now. That's what we're at. And we can either grant that appeal and overturn the ruling by the district executive committee. We can deny the appeal and uphold the ruling, or we can grant or deny the appeal and take other action. So recognize that we've got the flexibility to do all those things. If we grant the appeal and that's all we do, that means no forfeitures at all. We deny it and that's all we do, then there's 4 forfeitures, and I'm not for that. I've already mentioned that. Or we can take other action, which we have 1 forfeiture, 2 forfeitures, no forfeitures, those lines. We need to, it's time. We need to make some decisions. So I'm gonna leave the floor open for a motion to either grant the appeal as it is, which would mean no forfeitures, or grant the appeal and take other action, which would be 1 or 2 forfeitures, or to deny the appeal and take other action as well. You can do it that way. So I need a motion. Anybody ready to make one? Dr. Till, ready.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we grant the appeal and there be no forfeitures contest.
Okay. We have a motion. Got a second from Mr. Wade. All in favor, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's unanimous. Thank you. All right. I want to go back to our district chair.
Yes, sir.
We see a lot of district executive committee people come in here. Never seen anybody do a better job of articulating things than you did today. Difficult situations, a lot of hard feelings. There's going to probably be some hard feelings that remain. Time will heal that. Y'all take care of each other. And Coach, you're setting this one. That means you can't do anything. You're out of it. So make sure that you remove yourself completely. And Mr. Stanford, that is your role also. Yes, Dr. Harrison and Mr. Spada.
Mr. Chair, if I could just expound on that, because we have had some confusion in the past. Mr. Stanford, feel free to reach out. We can talk about this more. Coach has been suspended from football activities. So that means practice, that means game planning, that means scouting. He is not a part of the football staff. He is your athletic director. If you have administrative duties for him, that's fine. But as the chair said, it'll be your responsibility to ensure he is, for the rest of this season, not a part in any way of the football program. So that includes anything you can think of, right? Texting to the coordinators, hey, here's what we should do. Here's some personnel decisions. Here's the play script, whatever it is. He's out of football completely. So let's talk about that some more, offline, so that we make sure we have that completely clear.
Mr. Spada?
Yeah, just real quickly, I want to add, you pointed out, some of the hard feelings that might exist because of this case. I think it is important. There were some concerns that Dr. Colwell mentioned about playing the game tomorrow night. Commend the work of the committee to look at this. Obviously, there have been a lot of time taken here to consider every aspect of this. I do think it's incumbent on Mr. Stanford and the next opponent to get together and discuss how this game is going to be played operationally, and to make sure that the adults around the kids set the standard for expectations so this game goes off without a hitch. I know, Mr. Stanford, I appreciate your testimony today. What you've said that your kids have not wavered in the standard that they're setting for the rest of your community. I expect that the next few games are going to go off without a hitch because of that. So appreciate your leadership there.
Yes, Mr. Stanford.
So I appreciate it very much. And you've got my word that we're going to do that. We've already started conversations this morning about this week's game in case it was played. So we're already working on things for that, and with Mr. Skinner and myself. So, and Dr. Harrison, I appreciate it very much. I'll be reaching out to you.
All right. Thank y'all for being part of this. We're going to remove y'all from the meeting at this time. And do we have any announcements, any other business?
No, Mr. Chair, that's plenty.
All right. Thank y'all. Tough day. Well done all the way around. Appreciate you. And I'm sure we'll see you soon. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.